Welcome to the Homeschool High School podcast, brought to you by Seven Sisters Homeschool.com and the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. I'm Vicki, and I am so excited because my seven sister Kim is going to introduce us to an old friend who's not old, she's young, Emily Hockey. So, Kim and Emily, welcome. And
Hi.
I
Thank you.
I was telling Dr. Emily ahead of time that I have known about her for many years because Kim's twins played hockey all through their high school years and would talk about their hockey friends. So Dr. Emily Hockey played hockey with Kim's twins. So tell the story, ladies, if you don't mind, about the high school years of hockey and how y'all met.
Well, actually, this is a UD, University of Delaware
Mhm.
connection.
Oh, it's a
So
UD connection.
UD
Even I
connection.
was hearing the
Yep.
twins during college. I never outgrew the twins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So one of the first things they came home with from hockey is there's somebody named Emily Hockey and she's on our hockey team. So I'll let you tell the story of when you met Kendall and Carly.
Yeah, it
And
was,
yeah.
I was, they had wanted to, play at Delaware, I'm sure, for a long time. They had their sights set on this. I didn't know I was going to play hockey in college. I thought I was, just going to go to college, do the normal thing. And my dad's like, you should really play. So I was a walk on. So I walk in the first day. The twins obviously had already known everybody. And I was like, thank goodness I'm meeting you two at the same time because I would not be able to tell them apart if I met them separately.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was one of the first things. Our freshman cohort was so close. They were so great, and they were just such great people. It's very easy to take to them. So they would actually, my dorm was open to theirs. They would come have sleepovers if we had road
Okay.
trips or things like that. And then the Smice home became my second home after a little bit, and all of the
Yeah.
seeing eye dogs and everything that there was. So it was just one of those things that snapped immediately right when I walked into the locker room. I was like, "Yep, these are the girls."
Some friendships just work, and
Mhm.
the way that randomly life brings everybody together is a neat thing.
Mhm.
And that's
You
a cool
bet.
thing about college too. Yeah.
Yeah, and now Emily's going to be in Kendall's wedding coming up.
Mhm.
So,
Oh my
which
gosh.
Vicky's son Seth is officiating. So there's a connection here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
My youngest son's wife,
yep.
Caroline.
Yeah,
uh,
Atlanta.
Yeah,
Mhm.
is when they were in high school, the two twins and Caroline, we called them the triplets. So there's a
Mhm.
very, very interwoven community, and I love how it gets bigger over the years. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yes, I was.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
Caroline's wedding. I saw all the pictures. It was beautiful. Come up and visit them a couple times. So yeah, they're all so great. That little the little all of them.
Little connections. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, so Emily, you have a PhD, which is awesome. But you not only have a PhD, but you have a PhD in the sciences.
Yes.
And our culture is still getting used to women in STEM, and
Mhm.
so sometimes you're a little bit of a pioneer.
Mhm.
So I would love for you to tell first. Let's start with the big picture. Tell what your doctoral degree is in.
Yes, so my PhD is in physical chemistry. Specifically, I did laboratory astrochemistry for my doctoral research.
So did everybody hear that? So we're doing laboratory astrochemistry.
Yep.
How
Oh,
cool is that? So, all right. So how did you get interested? If we go back, how many years was it, when the twinkle got in your eye about the sciences?
So it was as young as I can really remember. I grew up in around the Washington, D.C. area. So I had all of the Smithsonian museums
Oh,
down in
yeah.
D.C. that we would go to. And one of my favorite was the Air and Space Museums. It was
mhm.
always so great to see there's space, there's rocket ships, there's this, there's so much when you look up, let alone from this just this great earth. And my dad worked for the EPA, so there was always sciences around. There was always let's care about this earth, but nobody really talked about when you look up out of this earth, what's up there.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to high school, I had known that I was going to do some sort of sciences. And my junior year of high school, I took honors chemistry. And I had the most wonderful teacher ever. She was not everybody's cup of tea, but she was my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, She
Nice.
was one of those teachers who, I got an exam back and she went, I don't even want to talk to you. You did so poorly. And she wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't talk to me. And I got a 98 on the test. And she was like, but you can do better. She knew from the jump. She said, I know you can do better than this.
Wow.
So it was one of those, wow, somebody sees something that I had never saw, that I can do this. It didn't matter about anything. She saw that she
Yes.
knows what I can do. After
Yes.
that, I went on to AP chemistry. Another great teacher, Mr. Walter, he was the same way. He was like, Miss V told me about you. I know you can do. You got it.
Wow.
So I had a upset all the way from the jump that got me into
So,
the sciences.
yeah, you had nature and nurture. So you were made a scientist. You grew up in an environment that fostered that.
Mhm.
And then you had people who saw that in you. And that's what a real teacher or mentor does, is say, I see this. And
Mhm.
when you had your teacher who said that a 98, yeah, okay, but I say you can do more. What did that feel like, to be seen, like somebody sees what is in you?
It was so great. It was something, you had seen it at home. Your parents always tell you, you're doing great, I love you, all of these things, and your siblings tell you that. But to see it from an outside source of someone who sees generations upon generations of students and looks at you and says, this is it. You can do this. You're gonna do this. That was just an exceptional feeling, and I don't think it goes away. You hear that even now. Someone tells me that, and I'm like, hee hee hee.
Yes. Yeah. No, we all want to be seen. Yes. So then you have the spark that's there, and people are seeing the spark. How did you know how to develop a transcript? How to make the most of high school so it would get you where you wanted to college?
Mhm. Yeah, so I had two older siblings, so I had kind of seen the process before. My dad had been to college, so we knew kind of these are the classes you should be taking. Take as many of these APs, take as many high level courses as you can. Let's take all of your exams, your SATs, and applied to all of our schools, and it was great. But I didn't get into my top school, and that was a heartbreak for me. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh no, what am I going to do? Like,
Mhm.
am I even going to succeed? I didn't get into this one, but everything funnels down. I got into University of Delaware. I got a scholarship because they had seen that not only I was doing well in school, I was doing well in the classes I applied to be my major, and I was playing hockey. I was doing extracurriculars. I was volunteering. They look more at being a well-rounded human
Yes.
more than they would look at, oh, you got perfect straight A's, because I did not get perfect straight A's.
Well,
That's
yeah,
right.
and
And
that's
look at you now.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So University of Delaware was right, and they were
Yes.
looking for the student body and developing the people. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yes.
really cool. So, and I guess you had the kind of parents that when you got the skinny letter from your top college, that they helped you continue believing in yourself, even though that was a disappointment.
Yep. They said, then that's not your school. Your
Mm,
school is out there. It doesn't, you might have thought that was your school, but you're going to go to one of these schools and you're going to realize that that was the right choice to not get into that school. And it actually was University of Maryland that denied me. That was my top undergraduate school. And
amazing.
then full circle, they come around and accept me for a PhD. So I did get to go to my dream school in the end. That just wasn't the time that I was
Yeah,
meant to go to that
yeah,
school.
yeah.
And we're so sorry that you went through all that, but we are so glad that you ended up at Delaware first, too.
Well, I again after the first week, I was like, this was right. All whatever grief I felt was not grief at all. It was I
Yes.
was meant to be there.
So,
I really hope that parents and our high schoolers heard that, because sometimes in our culture, our kids have pressure and the parents have pressure also, that they need to go to the top school or else life is a total disaster and nothing good will ever happen again. And what you had was the kind of parents that said, that just wasn't your school. And to trust that when you went to UD, something good would happen. And it did. And look at all the things that unfolded.
And they were also very great of, if I had a really stressful exam or something like that, it was, okay, well, let's go play your favorite sport. Let's go see this. They were just so supportive in every aspect and really understood I was not the kind of student that needed to sit there and study for 5 more hours. I needed to go play a hockey game. And they knew that that's what I needed to be able to succeed. And it wasn't, oh, well, she's not spending time in the books. It was, no, we understand that this is what she needs to be able to do well. That might not be conventional, but that's what our daughter needs. So that's what we're going to provide her. And it was so great to have such supportive parents in whatever aspect and facet I needed.
And it's made you such a rounded person, that you still, I was talking to Emily lives in Florida, and when they had that little snowstorm down there, she was using her hockey stick because they didn't have shovels or snow things. And so all those things still come in handy in your life, right?
They do every single day.
That is a change of environment going from this neck of the woods down to Florida. So,
Oh yes, ma'am.
so when you got to UD, then your parents and you had made up your minds, like y'all had the mindset of this is the school for you, and so you were going to make it the most of that. And so, how did you choose courses and extracurriculars like the hockey? Like, how did you unfold that so that your college really did turn out to be something that was great for you?
Yeah, again, just like high school, transitioning into college, I was assigned really great advisors. And my college advisor was actually the college advisor that my father had when he went to Delaware. So it walked in and it was he was like, a hockey? And I was like, yep. He goes, oh, I need to retire. There's too many of you. But I had really great advisors that said, we don't really think you should go this route. What do you want to do later in life? Maybe we should go with this route. But with the hockey and the extracurriculars there, still volunteering, that was just something at my core that I knew I needed to continue to be successful in school. If one of those was taken away, it was already such a big change going from high school to college. I needed those grounding rocks that, yes, I still have hockey practice. Yes, I still have my girls. Yes, I still have this when classes get really hard and I don't have my parents right at home to go to, or my siblings right at home to. You have to forge those new ones. So again, a slew of great advisors, great people to lean on, and that is probably one of the biggest things. Is from day one, I had 20 sisters immediately that I had never had sisters before that were there with me for 4 years that you could go to with anything, and then continuing to grow through all of my friends I met in chemistry, all of my friends I met from our volunteering groups. It grew and grew. And once you have a big support system, you can really do anything.
Yeah. So that you made up your mind to create a life around you. Like you didn't just sit there and go to class. You found communities like in the hockey world and in volunteering, and that's
Yes.
make a healthy college life.
Yes, and Delaware was very much one of those places where they give you so many opportunities to put yourself out there and find what kind of person you are, or if you want to try new things. They were so accepting of everything, so you could, have 20 different groups that you were going to, and as long as you weren't outspread, you were accepted and welcomed and were willing to try. And it was really, really great environment to foster and figure out what kind of person you wanted to be in this new adult life.
That's awesome. Okay, now our topic today, we wanted to talk about women in STEM because it's not as unusual to have a female scientist anymore, but still in the sciences like chemistry and physics and astrophysics and astrochemistry and all, I bet you were not in the majority in the program.
No, I was not. And I was actually fortunate. My PhD advisor was a female, and my PhD group was and still is majority women. She had wanted to create a great environment. She was also told, we don't really accept women into this group. Women don't publish as much as men. Is this really your research or is it somebody else's? So she was, I know, and she's not that much. She's maybe 9 years older than me.
Yeah.
So she was really great in fostering this. You will face challenges. It's going to be difficult because, again, we are still the minority. But that does not mean that you are going to be any less. That doesn't mean you can't do anything less.
Yeah.
So when we would go to conferences, it was extremely male dominated, and you would get some of the horrific comments of, oh, but you're too pretty to be doing this work. And I said, well, did you listen to my work? Because that's all you should be here to listen to. So still, even in this day and age, I was facing some of those comments as we went through, but I had, again, great mentorship that told me how to deal with it. I had the support systems that I could text the twins and say, someone just said this really mean thing, like they don't believe I can do this work. And they were like, well, you're doing it. And we know you can do it because you've made it this far, like keep going. So it's difficult. It is difficult. And even at my current job, there are 24 PhDs, and I'm one of 3 women PhDs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but you just have to show them
there.
Yep, you just have to show them that, I got the same degree that you did.
Yeah. Did the work.
I did the work.
And I got the brains. You have the brains. I know. She's very smart.
Well,
I listened to her dissertation and I understood the words the and star and gases and whoops.
All right. So speaking of dissertations, so that's one of my favorite topics. So how did you decide on your doctoral program? And then you got to tell everybody a little bit about your studies at that. Yeah.
This is another great one that I love to tell people. I decided on my doctoral program because it was the only one that accepted me. I got denied from 5 other doctoral programs did not accept me, and University of Maryland accepted me because, again, somebody saw something in my transcript that wasn't just the numbers on the paper. They saw I played hockey. They saw I volunteered, and they took a chance on me. And once I got there was a new PI, Dr. Leah Dotson. She was just starting her group. So a young female PI in astrochemistry who had no students. And I was like, this is my time. This is my time. So I had just gone to grad school to go to grad school. I didn't think I was going to do astrochemistry. I was just like, someone is taking me for chemistry. I'll figure it out. And again, how the world works is there is always something for everybody.
Yeah.
So I joined her group. She thankfully took me, and we got to build the lab from the ground up.
Literally, you built a lab from the ground up.
Yes, yes. When I started grad school, we had an empty room, and they said one day you'll move in here. But then COVID happened, so we had tons of delays, tons of everything. Yeah. And she was just so phenomenal. Of okay, well, we'll transition. You're going to design your instruments online, and then once we get back into the labs, you're going to build them. We're going to have everything. So we literally took an empty room and turned it into an astrochemistry lab within the 5 years that I was there, which was so amazing.
And I have pictures of it. If it's okay with you, we'll put pictures in the show notes. Yeah, I've got pictures of them in her lab with her instrument. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just for fun, say the names of some of the equipment that you helped bring to the University of Maryland.
Yeah, so my instrument was a matrix isolation spectrometer. So it was comprised of a cryogenic vacuum chamber. So I helped design and build something that got down to 10 Kelvin, which is negative 460 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was down at, ultra high vacuum pressure. So there's really nothing in there unless I put it in there. So I would deposit gas samples into there, and they would freeze onto that really cold stick. So it would make basically an ice, and I would shoot a laser at it and get molecular information from that. So that was my main part.
That's
cool. That's so
just
cool.
makes my entire day. So, ladies, see what can happen. This is
right.
And I was also during my time in grad school, I was able to go out to Berkeley out in California and work at a national lab out there on one of their specialized instruments. So that was also part of my thing, where I took 3 trips all the way out to Berkeley to do science out there, which was, again, when you're, a little girl in the Air and Space Museum, and then you're like, I'm getting invited out to a user facility to use these instruments. I also did some experiments at NASA Goddard because one of my committee members was she worked on JWST, the big new space telescope, so we got to go to Goddard and do some things. It was one of those the little Emily would never imagine I'm at NASA, I'm at Berkeley, I'm doing all of these great things. And it's just because people believed in me.
And that's what I wanted to emphasize is you believed in yourself, obviously.
Mhm.
You also were around people who would believe in you, and you found cultures, you made connections, and you were willing to take the adventure. So like the opportunity goes to Berkeley in the National Lab or to NASA, and you didn't say, "Oh, I'm too busy right now." Yeah, you made the most of your doctoral program. So
Yeah,
that's
it was something I learned in the PhD. It was, I started to, everyone has that imposter syndrome. Oh, am I good enough to do this? Towards the end, it was, oh, you were selected for this fellowship. And I said, thank you, I know. I worked hard for this. It wasn't, oh,
yeah,
well, did they mean to select me? Did they mean to do this? It was, yes, I earned this. I put in all of the work. I'm thankful, I'm humbled, but I'm not thinking it's supposed to go to my male coworker or somebody else. I earned it, and that was something that took from high school all the way until now to
yeah.
be able to really seed in that yes, I believe in myself. Other people believed in me, and this is how I need to live my life.
That is beautiful. Yes. And that's what we want our other young scientists and other budding professionals to know is that if you are created to fulfill something, if you've got gifts, that's not imposter syndrome to become who you're supposed to be. Yeah. So, all right. So now, just for fun, so y'all created your own lab. You made your own kind of world there in your doctoral program. Tell about your doctoral thesis, because one of my favorite things in the world is the names of people's theses. So,
Yes.
yes.
So my thesis, its title was Matrix Isolation and Gas-Phase Kinetics of Astrochemically Relevant Species. So it was basically a conglomeration of that instrument that I just talked about at the University of Maryland, experiments that I did there, and the experiments I did over at the Advanced Light Source in Berkeley. So I did a little bit of, cryogenic ice experiments where I shoot a laser at it, and then I did some gas phase experiments where I shoot a laser at it. So I was a spectroscopist, spectrometrist. Again, 1 year ago today, I actually defended that thesis. So I'm still a very, very new early career scientist. And
Yeah.
it was one of the greatest things to be able to write and to put it in a single document and then to see that as a bound book and have all of your committee members check off on it and say, this is your original work. You've created everything that's in this 300-page document, and it's
Yes.
new, it's exciting.
Yes.
Happy
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's nothing like defending and presenting your thesis there. So that's beautiful. Um, all right, for those who are new to astrochemistry, I was telling Emily, I am from an older generation where science didn't know so much about space. I remember watching on television when men landed on the moon the first time. That's
Oh, yes.
my generation. So we really thought we were trained that once you left Earth's atmosphere, there's nothing there. And all of a sudden, there's a doctoral level scientist who is studying astrochemistry. So tell us a little bit about what astrochemistry is.
Yeah, so specifically for the Dotson group, which was my graduate group, we looked at creating instruments that could simulate space's environment down here. So those extremely low pressures where you would imagine that there are no molecules, no chemistry, but there's just little tiny amounts, and the extreme cold of space down in that negative 400 Fahrenheit degree. So we would simulate those conditions down here and do chemistry to try to gain an understanding of what is actually happening in space when all of these observers detect a new molecule in space. Can we help provide information? How did it get there? How is it reacting with what you see with around it? Is another planetary atmosphere different from the interstellar medium where their temperatures are different, their pressures are different. So we seek to elucidate information to these observers on how things are happening up in space because there's no oxygen, it's cold, there's not a lot of molecules around. So that was our main goal in providing that as a laboratory astrochemist.
Yeah.
Right. And what I love about that, besides it's really interesting, is that while you were talking about, there's a twinkle in your eye. You love what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. It's one of my favorites.
So when you got your PhD and you marched across the stage in your official graduation, how many women were in your class, do you think?
That's a great question. In my cohort, so I defended probably a year early. The rest of my cohort is kind of defending now.
Uh-huh. So
There
you had
were
a
there were a
little,
handful. There were a
yeah,
handful of us. Not definitely not the majority. Definitely not half. And it's graduate programs are rigorous. A lot of people didn't make it all the way through. So we definitely
yeah,
had a good number of people. Yeah, I
yeah. It's still a minority.
yeah yes
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
hmm
But
Yeah.
it can be done if that is in your heart to do, and
oh
you're
of course.
evidence of it, and just the smile and the twinkle, like it is the right thing to be doing. All right, so once you graduated, then you ended up doing what? Talk about a fellowship, and
Yes.
for folks who are learning about this kind of thing.
So my boyfriend is a pilot in the U.S. Air Force, so he's stationed all the way down here in Florida, which is how I wound up all the way down here. So I had to find a job down here that was at a PhD chemistry level,
Yeah.
and I applied for a National Research Council fellowship, so to become a doctoral fellow. So I wrote an entire proposal to say I would like to go work at the Air Force Research Laboratory down in Florida. This is the research that I would like to do. Can I have money to go do it? So I was funded through that, which was absolutely amazing. And I got to move down here. So now I'm working for the Air Force Research Laboratory, but I'm funded by myself. So I'm an independent contractor and
Mhm.
a fellow working here. So it's one of those competitive fellowships that
Mhm.
you never think that you're going to get, and then you get, and then you have to remember, yes, of course, why wouldn't I get this?
Yes.
I've done everything so far.
Yes. Well, then, and I think it's also the details of how you've taken each step in life. Like you've been resilient and creative in your thinking and believed in yourself, even if a little imposter syndrome may pop up or
Mhm.
somebody says you're too pretty to be in this field.
Mhm.
You kept believing in yourself and helping to create the next thing. And one thing I have noticed is sometimes in the sciences, my former students who've grown up and gone into the field, is a lot of times it's not like getting a job at Walmart after you graduate and you're just there, like you're actually creating some of your own opportunities. And
Mhm.
that's an exciting and maybe a little, is it intimidating? Like, how do we do this?
Yes, so the job that I have now actually has absolutely nothing to do with my doctoral research.
Uh,
It was another one of these big gambles where I wrote a proposal and applied to a job that I had no experience doing, but I
mhm.
had a PhD, I had resilience, I knew that I could apply, and once again, somebody took a chance on me and said, I've seen her resume, I've seen her degree, she can do anything. That I have no reservations that she will come down here and make a difference. So I'm still doing basic research where, in the lab, I'm looking at fundamentals, and we've been able to, discover new things. That's one of those where I have people in the field who have been at this job for 20 plus years, 30 plus years, and they're still excited to see the new generation come in and hear what we have to say. And they've been so respectful and so encouraging, and they really push the new generation is what we need. They said, we've done what we're doing. We might be stagnated. We don't know. So we need this new generation to come in and to talk and to ask questions. And those questions might not amount to anything, but they're never dumb questions because things need to be asked so that people think. And that's something that they've really encouraged me in this job is talk, ask questions. You are the future of this field.
Uh, what a beautiful thing to be part of a culture that, yeah,
Yeah.
one generation sees the next. Okay, so if we're looking at the next generation, if you had a chance to talk to some high school girls, which you will on this episode,
Mhm.
and they have a love of science, what kind of encouragement and advice might you give them?
Just go for it. Science is one of those things where it will it will give you all of the fulfillment. If you pour enough time and dedication into it, it will give you that exactly back. And again, there will be a lot of obstacles. It will feel very, very hard, but that's the fun of it.
Mm.
Everybody can do it. Science isn't, you know, young women, young men. It's not old women, old men. It's if you put the dedication into it. So if you're starting in high school and you're excited about it, just keep going. There's so much stuff online now that you can go get resources, you can read books. We're really in this generation of asking questions and pursuing. And I think that's so exciting for this generation to be able to have all of this new information and, stand on the shoulders of those who came before them, because that's what you're meant to do. Is you're supposed to build a foundation for those that come.
That is wonderful advice. Kim, I've dominated the conversation. Is there anything you wanted to talk about with Emily and your girls and
I'm just sitting here feeling like such a proud mom, even though I'm not. Like Emily is such a precious person in my world, and it's just so fun. We've gotten to talk a lot. I've gotten to listen to both of her master's and her doctoral defense, which was amazing. And even with all that, this has just been really cool to hear and get to hear more about your science life, your science world, and just seeing you exactly like you said, like you knew you had this interest. It's always been a part of you, and just seeing how you followed it and how hard you've worked. And I don't know if our listeners caught that, but Emily kind of very quietly, humbly glossed over the fact that she was able to do what was expected to be a 6-year program in 5 years. Um, and sometimes maybe it would take you 7 or 8 instead or whatever. But you follow the path that you're on, and you've just always been so good about just saying, I'm just going to try this. I'm going to do the best I can. And I know how much you sacrifice too. This isn't ending up to be a question, but do you want to talk a little bit about the sacrifices? Because we're hearing all the good stuff,
Mhm.
and not as a discouragement, but as an encouragement that you made sacrifices and it was worth it to you. And I know a lot of times you would be like, oh, it's sort of like when the kids would get a social invite during high school, and it would be like, I can't, I have hockey. Sometimes it was, I can't, I'm working on my PhD.
Mhm. There were many times where, I hadn't seen the twins in months and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna be down in the area." And I was like, I can't come see you. I have a paper I'm writing.
Yeah.
I'm actually going on a research trip. So there were a lot of sacrifices in the social aspect of I can't go see my people. Thankfully we have phones now, so it's a lot easier. I can
yeah,
FaceTime them. But
Yeah.
it was hard turning down a lot of things, and
Yeah.
um, you really had to prioritize. I knew what I wanted to achieve, which was the PhD. So I had to turn down a lot of, I can't go to that hockey game tonight. All of my friends are going to watch my brother play hockey. I can't come tonight because I have to read this paper, or I'm giving a presentation tomorrow. And then even coming down here, I had to give up, a lot of job opportunities because this was the fellowship I wanted. I had other job opportunities, and I could have stayed up in Maryland with my people and my friends, but I said, no,
Mhm.
this is the job. This is what I want to do. I need to give it up to go for it, because that was the path that I set for myself. And I
yeah,
blazed down everything to get that path I set for myself.
Yeah. And we can just see in your face and hear in your voice that it's paid off beautifully, and it's
yeah,
been worth it for you.
It
Yeah.
has. And
Yeah.
even now, taking a job that has nothing to do with astrochemistry, I was, kind of really upset. The reason that I haven't been able to come on this podcast sooner is NASA actually reached out and asked to review proposals for them. So I had NASA reach out, and I'm still in the astro
Wow.
world, and I'm still being sought out. I know it's very exciting.
Nice.
So it was one of those things where I thought I had, given up a lot, but that's still coming back into my world, and I'm still able to take that opportunity and say, I need to step away from work a little bit because my passion came back, my astro came back, and I'm going to do what I can to, you know, work with NASA for a week.
Well, that's what I hear is that, yes, sacrifices, that's part of life, making priorities and choices, and also being open to good things happening. So
Mhm.
you never forgot NASA just because you're doing something else. And then
Mhm.
this opportunity comes along. So that
Mhm.
openness, resilience, and belief in yourself is
Mhm.
very valuable and important. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you can think of that you want to share? Emily, you've done this has
Uh,
been so fun and so
I
fascinating,
know.
so
Uh,
encouraging.
yeah, what I would say again for the younger generation as they come up through this field is always remember to go back and do this. I would go back to my first grade teacher's classroom and talk about being a woman in science, and the kids would say, "I didn't know girls could be scientists." Hearing
Mm,
a first grader say that is horrible.
yeah,
It makes you so sad, but
Yeah.
it's always important to go back and be a reminder, set an example. I had outreach programs that were minority serving high schools talking about getting into college and doing this. So if you have that drive, if you have that passion, it is so important to go back and share it with others because there might be someone who really needs to hear it from
mm,
someone that looks like them, someone that doesn't look like them, someone that they just needed that extra outside voice saying, go for it. Because
mm,
that's
Yeah.
what
yep.
you have when you have mentors around you, and maybe someone doesn't have that, that voice and they need to hear it. So I would say always go back and really give back to, all those people who helped bring you up.
I'm jumping up and
Nice.
down and saying
Nice.
yay. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, Dr. Emily Hockey, thank you for spending time with us today. Our young people and parents are going to be so inspired, and I am looking forward to hearing about Kim's twins marriage
Yeah.
ceremony that you're going to be really nice and
Yep.
anyway, but also mostly to follow your career and to see, what are the exciting things that happen next. So thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yeah.
No, thank you as well. And again, I'll be back up in August for Kendall and Levi's party, so I'll try to come see y'all and
Yay.
meet in person finally.
That
Yeah.
is awesome. All right.
Super.
Well, this has been the Homeschool High School podcast brought to you by Seven Sisters Homeschool.com and the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. Thank you to Seth Tillman for editing, and thank you, Dr. Emily Hockey, and thank you, Seven Sister Kim, for being here today. So we'll see everybody next week.